We have been in a fog, and as we emerged, we see that the world has been pushed to the brink, and so have you. I'm Dr. David Owers, I'm the Doc of DeFi, and I invite you back to my garden. So a while back I made a video inside my garden, and I'm going to revisit it now, a bit later in the spring, and I would like to continue my conversation around real world and crypto space by examples within my garden. And bear with me, I didn't plant this garden with the video in mind, so the order is a little bit wonky as to the train of thought in the crypto space and blockchain. But just bear with me, and let's see what we can do. So this I'm actually very proud of. I love this plant. It's doing really, really well. It's quite vibrant. It's called a black dragon. And don't know why, because it's neither black nor that it looks like a dragon. So I guess the analogy I can have there is just be careful of labels. Do your research. The labels could be misleading on certain projects in the crypto space, and you must just be careful about that. Next, here we have varying species of rhododendron. This one blooms later. This one blooms now. It's quite vibrant and doing quite well. And there's one further down there that's sort of in between the two, sort of blooming and on the way out from blooming. So these are examples maybe of more sort of exotic things that you could look at, a species, sort of class asset that has different species within them or subspecies. And that's sort of an interesting thing that you can find in the altcoins. So I thought that was a cool way of looking at it. There's this and this. All right. So not so interesting to look at, but this kind of reminds me of the idea that you have to pare things down sometimes. So the first thing you saw was a pampas grass. It doesn't look very impressive right now, but it will grow to over 6 feet tall, and it will have these wonderful shoots in them called pampas. And if you can think of the old depiction of movies, the pharaohs and whatnot, the various things that they used to fan them and to adorn the areas around them, that's kind of like what this grass looks like. But now it doesn't look like much. And that's a bit like the strategies that a lot of experts in the field comment on with regards to the portfolios. Sometimes you got to pare them down. It doesn't mean selling them off necessarily, but shifting them around and bringing them back into their roots, so to speak. And that is kind of what's happened here. All the energy is sitting down in there, but ready to bloom again to, over maybe 5 or 10 times its current appearance very, very soon. So it's not that the portfolio or the assets have gone away, they're just taking a different form. And in a bear market such as we see now, maybe visualize your portfolio a bit like that pampas grass. That's kind of the way it should be, ready to bloom when you can. So here's another area that I'd like to draw your attention. All right, so quite a contrast here. We have this plant I've tried year after year, as much as I can to revive this sickly plant. In some cases it has, and it's got its little blooms. But contrast that to this. So this is a hosta, and of course it is very, very vibrant, very, very hardy. It does go away in the winter time, just like the pampas grass, but right now it's blooming, and it will have flowers pretty soon. And that's just to compare and contrast assets or projects in the crypto space. Some of them are quite sickly, and some of them, no matter what you do, they just keep coming back time and time and time again, even in challenging markets. So that's something to consider when you are looking around at things. And I have another example here of this little spindly looking evergreen. It's got a really cool leaf to it. It's not sharp at all. It almost feels cactus-like, but it isn't. It's an evergreen. And I bought this because I didn't want to buy something more expensive called a monkey puzzle plant. That's the layman's term. I don't know what the official term is. You can look it up. It's really, really cool. It is a very segmented tree. It's an evergreen, and it's got a bit of a waxy feel to it, and but it's very expensive. It also grows to be quite large, and it is very, very finicky to use. So, but I bought this one instead because, to me, it was the essence of the monkey puzzle plant, but much easier. It's not going to be as cumbersome. It's not as difficult to grow. It's not as finicky. And that's a bit like the Ethereum network and the various solutions that are trying to help the clunkiness, let's say, the expensiveness, and the inertia of this large platform. So, we have layers of solutions, they call them, layer 2, that operate to try and make what's best about the Ethereum network, which is the large, clunky, expensive one, into something that is a bit more affordable for everybody and less finicky. And these networks allow you the functionality. So unlike Bitcoin, that is sort of a store of value, there are ways to use the blockchain and crypto space in a more dynamic version of itself, where you can get liquidity or provide liquidity, and you can get yield, called yield farming, and various things, various applications like that. So I thought that was a pretty neat analogy. And then I've got these 3 big U's right here. And I got those because they're the sentries. They're at the very, very beginning, they provide a little bit of cover for everything, but yeah, they sort of stand guard over this entire space. And of course, my biggest analogy I can draw with that one is that it's like Bitcoin. Those are the Bitcoins of this garden, and it stands, it just stands guard. It stands for everything that this garden is. It's vibrant, it's hardy, it's great to look at. It provides a purpose, even though it doesn't provide a fruit for me to eat, but it sort of defines this space. And so that's what I think the Bitcoin is. And last but not least, where I started my video the last time was my strawberry patch. It's looking quite different now. But it wouldn't look like a lot if I just started this in this year. So let me explain. We've had a pretty slow spring. It's a bit more like winter up until these last maybe 5 or 6 days, and spring is almost over now. So had I started this patch this year, there wouldn't be much going on, right? And you can kind of liken our slow spring to a bear market. It's hard to, there's opportunity, but there's not much to see. But because I had this thing going 4 cycles ago, which is ironically a bit like Bitcoin, it's gone through 4 cycles since 2009. Now there's something to see, even during a bear market. And that's the thing that I wanted to hammer home here, is that getting into this space is so important. Okay, and because it's a bear market means that if you get into it now, you'll be able to create a patch like this or beyond at a fraction of the cost, and it will pay dividends later on. So 4 cycles from now, if this were your start in the bear market, you'd be amazed at what actually this could turn into. So I hope you had a great time looking at the garden as it is right now. Hopefully in about 4 to 6 weeks we will see some yield coming from my strawberry patch, and I will let you have a look at that whenever that happens. We'll catch you on the next video.